Today on the Topping Show, leftists continue to celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk. Representative Jasmine Crockett says violence doesn't come from Democrats. Representative Illan Omar is happy that Charlie Kirk is dead and goes viral on social media. Audi and Polstar pivot from performance EVs. And Parris Hilton mini fridge gets recalled. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is probably sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Guys, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapters to mount to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a Flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Audi and Polstar. Well, they're putting the brakes on their EV performance vehicles. All 18 customers will surely be disappointed. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Car and Driver, specifically Caleb Miller, who's a contributor over there. And I'm sorry, I should put a visual disclaimer on the screen. You're about to see EV performance cars, which, yeah, they're not pretty, nor do they really perform. But nevertheless, again, this credited to carandDriver.com. They say, quote, Audi cancels their RS6 e-tron Avant. Polestar delays the 6 Roadster. Damn. I was going to go out and buy one. Obviously not, but they say electric performance vehicles are struggling to capture the attention of enthusiasts, leading Audi and Polestar to reevaluate their plans. Yes, that's because enthusiasts don't want that crap. Again, there's a time and place for EVs. If you don't care about depreciation or a long-term reliable product, aka you have a lot of disposable income, and you do short trips in the city. In that scenario, where again you have unlimited money, you don't care about repairs, or that you don't have a right to repair your product, again, those scenarios, they make sense. But for enthusiasts who actually want to have fun driving, majority of them, they want a gas engine. I would argue a majority of them really want a stick shift, also known as a manual transmission. I was about to say, there are few feelings on the planet better than downshifting into a corner on the track when you got a stick shift vehicle. It is so much fun. I cannot implore you enough. If you have never done that, try it. You will be smiling ear to ear no matter what kind of day you had. It is the best. Also, with performance EVs, which is technically a thing, you can't go to the track because most tracks in the United States don't have the fire suppression technologies for lithium-ion battery vehicles, but they also don't have the insurance policies as well. So I know one track in Texas where they say if you have an EV, you can drive on the track. However, if it catches fire, they will not intervene. It burns to the ground. Also makes the whole track inoperable for the rest of the day. And also, even if it doesn't burn down, you can't drive it in between. So a lot of these tracks say just flat out no. I know one track has said, oh, at your own risk. And again, there's not enough time to charge the stupid thing in between race sessions. Again, like the time of kind of circuit racing I like, or I'm not good enough to race, I just take classes for now. It's a thing where you get 4 25-minute sessions per day. And they're, spaced out pretty good, but there's not enough time in between to actually really recharge the car. There's enough to get gas and, check your temperature, your tires. But like to recharge it? No. But I know a lot of cars are just pavement queens. They don't all go to the track, but in terms of the actual enthusiast, again, a majority of them don't want EVs. Ugh, that's the back of the Polestar, which looks quite angular, though I would argue not a good way. Now, they say, quote, performance-focused EVs are struggling to gain traction with enthusiasts, leading automakers to reconsider their plans, which, obviously. They say electric sports cars are a tough sell. Many enthusiasts revel in the visceral songs and vibrations emitted by an internal combustion engine. Oh, yeah, exactly. If you don't get that reference, I'm going to feel old and I'll die inside a little bit. Please tell me you know that reference. But nevertheless, they say, quote, which EVs can't match, even with piped-in engine noise. Sports cars buyers also like the handling and shifting duties themselves, and EVs are not compatible with a manual gearbox. lack of interest in electric performance cars now has many automakers reconsidering their plans, with Polestar set to delay its electric roadster and Audi reportedly canceling its potent, they say potent, RS6 e-tron. You also note there's no fast electric wagons. Audi launched its own mid-sized electric sedan in the United States earlier this year with the A6 e-tron and S6 e-tron to live alongside the gas-powered A6 for the foreseeable future. Current offerings are no slouches, with the base trim of the A6 e-tron producing 375 horsepower from a single rear-mounted motor and all-wheel drive quattro variant upping output to 456 horsepower. The S6 e-tron's dual-motor powertrain is good for healthy 543 horsepower. Which, Jesus. And it kind of does look like a bastardized Porsche, which, spoiler, same company in terms of Volkswagen Auto Group. They own Audi as well as Porsche and Bugatti and Ducati. They got a lot of cool things over there. And the Volkswagen brand themselves, which a lot of people still appreciate and purchase. But, God, that looks terrible, at least to me. Now, they say, quote, still rumors are more persistent that the German automaker will develop an even more powerful version of the A5 e-tron that wear the RS badge. For who? I don't know who wants that. Word on the street was that the RS6 e-tron could turn out 800 horsepower and all-wheel drive, helping it blast 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. So, still not as fast as a Tesla. Though you might argue which one is uglier. That's a coin flip for me. It's just ridiculous. Now, they say that Polestar is prioritizing SUVs, which, while I'm not a fan of SUVs, makes sense because in the United States, that's one of the fastest growing segments and the fastest selling segments in the auto industry. And there you can see the Polestar sports car concept there. They say, again, meanwhile, over in Sweden, Polestar has decided to postpone the launch of its electric roadster, set to be called the Polestar 6, and originally previewed by the Q2 concept from 2022. In an interview with Autocar CEO Michael Loster said the automaker was instead prioritizing the Polestar 7, a small SUV and successor to the Polestar 2, an electric hatchback that was recently dropped from the US lineup. According to the CEO, Polestar still plans to eventually put the 6 to production, and it'll share a platform with the recently revealed Polestar 5 sedan into production. While it was originally expected to arrive in 2028, Polestar 6 now might not reach dealerships before 2030. This is the most hilarious things. The price points. The Polestar 6 would be incredibly expensive. The Polestar 5 is expected to start at $135,000 and be produced in very low volumes, which that part is accurate, very low volumes, because again, the amount of people who want these things, they're not zero. But what is it, like 10, 13, 15? They say the 7 and next generation 2, meanwhile, will both be high demand models, something Polestar desperately needs as it struggles to get the Polestar 3 SUV and 4 SUV launched in the United States. So again, a lot of these brands are paving away because they're not selling and they also don't make money. Especially without U.S. government subsidies, with the U.S. sunsetting the $7,500 tax credit for EVs. It's a thing where, again, every automaker, but Tesla, to Elon's credit, though again, they also offset some of the things because of carbon emission tax credits, yada, yada. Every automaker loses money on EVs. I mean, Ford loses $4.8 billion a year. They're on track to lose $5.2 billion this year on EVs. They're a fiscal loser. And I argue, again, not fun for the track. And the people who really want a sports, I know there's like 1 or 2 ultra high-end companies that's making sporty electric cars. But again, those are very low volume boutique things. Even Porsche, where they're trying to push other EVs, partially because the EU government is bullying them to do so. But yeah, I don't see, especially sports car EVs, ever foreseeably being in the future. Ferrari found this out when it turned out, yeah, no one wants electric Ferrari. And geez Louise, you thought a Ferrari was unreliable to begin with Italian engineering, making an EV, and I don't think you'd get more than maybe a block away from your house. So again, I'm not surprised that they're starting to put the brakes on these EV initiatives for the sports cars especially. Especially those 6-figure price points. I mean, you get you can get a pretty good used Dodge Viper at that price. Which again, is apples to oranges, because the Viper has 10 cylinders of glory and a stick shift only, which I appreciate. There's just 1,000. Actually, there's 1,001 different cars I get before this. Well, I guess, yeah, cars in and out of production, that would certainly be true. But I mean, even anecdotally, when I talk about my friends, and a lot of them are gearheads, a lot of them go to the track with me. I mean, a lot of them just appreciate those cars that are not only cheaper than these, but a hell of a lot more fun, more reliable, and they all got gas engines. So, and again, you have consumer sentiment that changes throughout history. Sure, you have preferences. You may have some preferences that change, but I just don't see And any, even short-term or long-term, depending on your definition of like 10 years, I don't see a major push for EV performance vehicles, even if, again, some of them are mostly pavement queens and they never even go to the track. In terms of enthusiasts and gearheads, I think for the foreseeable future, it's going to be gas-powered vehicles. But as always, let me know your thoughts and comments, because I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the cultural part podcast, let's just continue to revel with glee at Charlie Kirk's assassination. Which, that's kind of the state of our country, which the upside is you know exactly what these monsters are thinking. And in this case, this gal is saying, Charlie Kirk is not martyr material. Quite the antithesis, if I can pronounce today, antithesis. He is, and his message is more magnified now than it has ever been before. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness. Now, fascinatingly enough, she does not have a cow ring, which is very unusual for mentally vacuous leftist. Now, let's see what she has to say. Maybe she'll get some articulate idea. Obviously, no, she won't say anything articulate or brilliant.
The best part of this whole goddamn thing is that he is not martyr material, so his death will mean nothing. It will activate no one. It will impact few. It's just great.
Friendly reminder in terms of who has the highest percentage of mental illness and disorders in the United States. Liberal white women that are, 18 to 32. They also have the highest percentage of them using pharmaceutical materials, in addition to the cliche birth control that's pushed upon them. But the psychotic meds, they also have the highest percentage of those as well. Now, unfortunately, they don't have any meds for stuttering yet. Hopefully, maybe I'll get one of those pills some of these days. And why do they always have those soulless eyes? And granted, I'm not much to look at. I can't make too much fun of her based on looks. But I was actually shocked she doesn't have short blue or pink hair. And she went pretty viral, got 3.9 million views and 69,000 likes. And just the past weekend, just anecdotally talking to my friends, and again, there's bias there, obviously, just anecdotal experience, being, Texas already, there's bias, of course. But in terms of my friends and acquaintances, there are a record number of people going to church for the first time in years. Charlie Kirk influenced so many people when he was alive. His message is more magnified now than ever before. I guarantee you there would be a record number of, especially young men, going to church, starting podcasts, getting politically involved, fighting the good fight, maybe even getting married and having kids. Because of Charlie Kirk. There going to be a record number of them trying to debate these monsters that are out there. And a lot of them are showing their past week, they've been showing their true colors, with many gleefully, bombastically happy on social media that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. All because he had political opinions, because he tried to bring people together, and he changed a lot of hearts and minds. That's why he was attacked, I believe. Because he was making a dent in the universe like no other. He's bringing light to the darkness. He's getting people really passionate about religion again. He's getting people to go vote, which, look at the statistics, young people, historically speaking, don't vote. Charlie Kirk had a huge, profound impact on the last presidential election. And they took him out because of that. Quite the opposite. He is not only a martyr, in his death, he will inspire tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, to all be the best they can be, go to church, have a positive impact, make a dent in the world. So she is wronger than I could possibly pontificate, though I'm trying. Now, going to the comment section, where the first one comes to us thanks to America AF, who says, quote, Charlie Kirk was the last person keeping young men moderate in this country. Now young men are going far right, getting 4.7 thousand likes, which I believe there's some truth to that assessment. Now, in terms of what Charlie Kirk would want, obviously he didn't want that. Charlie Kirk was all about peaceful protest, about having conversation with people across the political aisle, trying to really win people's hearts and minds with just calm, peaceful public debates, and letting the best ideas brew to the surface and win. In terms of, and again, I didn't have the privilege of directly knowing him, but just being a long-term fan and absorbing some of his materials, in terms of what Charlie Kirk would want, he would want guys to go to church, get involved politically, have discussions with people who could be are hungry for more knowledge and hopefully win their hearts and minds. He wouldn't want them to get violent. Unfortunately, I think some might, because more and more people are starting to see, well, golly gee, political violence is really overwhelmingly one side of the political aisle. And Jesus, they shot Trump multiple times trying to assassinate Donald Trump. And they succeeded, stealing the life from Charlie Kirk. I definitely see some guys getting radicalized going far right. And that makes me concerned. Yeah, it's not Charlie, it is absolutely not what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. But a lot of these guys are saying, hey, why are we always the ones being doxxed? Why are we the only side being physically attacked? Why are we the only side dying? They're seeing this. Because again, the youth are not absorbing the bullshit that is the mainstream media. Thank God you have things like Rumble and X, formerly Twitter. They actually give you access to all the data, and that way you can decide for yourself. Now, going down the comments, you also have Matt Van Swole saying, quote, honestly, there's nothing more radicalizing than watching these videos. Do they not understand? Do they not believe we're done being silent? Do they think we're being cowering while they scream for all of us to be killed? Those days are over, getting 5.6 thousand likes. America Pop Bear said, quote, Charlie converted moderates to conservatives. His death will convert conservatives to radicals. You can't change my mind. Getting 1,000 likes. Again, I hope and pray that's not the case. But that percentage of how many will go into from conservatives to radicals, it's not 0%. Again, I've said this already, but it's not what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. But a lot of these guys are hurt and pissed. And I honestly can't blame them. Thick Egged Shell also says, I've never been more pissed off than I am today, getting 44 likes. You have Amelia Henderson says, quote, you can't silence the only opinion. You can't silence an opinion by ending his life. And it's a quote by Charlie Kirk saying, you cannot silence an opinion by ending a life. You only prove its weight. Getting 62 likes, 63 likes, 68 likes, going up like a stock. Which, yeah, they couldn't beat him on merit. They couldn't beat him debating. They had to try to destroy him. Barefoot Pregnant also says, I mean, I think she might have a point. Everyone is sick of this culture, but it's all talks. What's the game plan? What's actually happening? Getting 26 likes. Let's see. Mirthful Moment says, only people with mental illness are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, getting 3.2 thousand likes. Yep. Horrifying how many of those people were in our lives. I was moderately shocked. Even on my personal Facebook page, I usually don't post too much politics. I usually talk about my business and half marathons and stuff that I do for fun. And I just had a rest in peace post for Charlie Kirk. I kind of said, hey, I mean, this guy was a father, a husband, a Christian. He wanted to bring people together with debates. And I was a little surprised, but I had a lot of people unfriend me. Just, and again, most of the people who I are still friends with growing up, who I am in consistent communication with, most of them are they're mentally mature enough where they can have a debate, even if we don't agree on the same ideas and philosophies. They can still hold a debate and not filled with so much hate that they would cheer for someone to die. So I'm glad those people are still in my life. But yeah, social media is exceptionally useful because guess who I won't be hiring? People who are making radical statements and people who are making glee at Charlie Kirk's death. You're not hireable. My company will never hire you. That's the upside of social media. We're seeing a lot of the worst of society who are cheering for the death of this great man. You have Mrs. B, and I forget what the comedic sketch is where the guy is shooting someone on the couch. He goes, why do you do that? And he is labeled liberals, shooting anyone not liberal enough. And he goes, let us take your guns so things like this will happen less. Getting 5.21 thousand likes. Mirthful Moments says, all were shot. Says, all stood up to Democrats, all were shot. Lincoln, Reagan, Trump, JFK, Charlie Kirk gained 2.3 thousand likes. Greg Assault Pistol Sandberg is a Chad guy talking to the MPC, or as I call it, the NPR guy, says Kirk was the moderate position, gained 3.2 thousand likes. Yep. Again, Charlie Kirk is very, very moderate, politically speaking. If you want someone who's, I can't think you're going to see a magnification of political influencers that are much more aggressive, much less moderate. Let's see. The Moral has a quote from Javier Milei. It says, quote, "The underlying values of leftism are envy, hate, resentment, unequal treatment under the law, and violence," getting 1.4 thousand likes. Rob says, "Bad decision," and shows a dam. Behind the dam is the far right. The dam is labeled Charlie Kirk. And all the towns below are called the left, getting 999 likes. And Donna Marie has a very, it's from 2016, very accurate quote, or very appropriate quote from Charlie Kirk, actually. It says, "You can tell a lot about a person by how they react when someone dies," getting 1.6 thousand likes, which is true. But again, the upside is, at least in terms of social media and these cultural decay in the United States right now, is, which people you don't hire. And frankly, if they're so gleeful that he died, I would argue don't hang around with. But that's just my 3 cents. It used to be 2 cents, but 40-year hyperinflation. Let me know your thoughts and comments. As always, be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part of the podcast, Representative Jasmine Crockett saying that violence comes from MAGA and not the left. Yes, she really said that, which I suppose I should be happy in terms of she makes me sound like a scholar and a genius in comparison to, again, Jasmine Crockett, who looks as insane as she sounds, where she has, what's that stupid game or movie? The Hunger Games? She has some bizarre dress suit on where she has pointy shoulders. It almost reminds me of Big Bird, though less intelligent, of course. This is Representative Jasmine Crockett.
The violence doesn't come from Democrats, just to be clear. The violence doesn't come from Democrats, just to be clear. I mean, obviously anyone can be a criminal, but it is MAGA. It's specifically MAGA faction. Like, I don't think traditional Republicans are getting engaged in all of this, but like, even when we look at, and they don't talk about the assassination attempts anymore that took place with Donald Trump, but these were Trump supporters, right?
I mean, it's almost impressive how dumb she's become and continues. I mean, it's almost unfathomably stupid. So she says, violence comes from MAGA, not Democrats. When I think about our country, all political assassinations, all the riots, the everyday crime, cities like Chicago, New York, and San Francisco. Yeah. President Trump's multiple assassinations attempts against him. Charlie Kirk's assassination. In fact, disproportionately overwhelming. They're Democrats committing the crimes and the violence and the political assassinations. Some people last week were noting, the assassination of Minnesota political violence. He's a registered Republican. Oh yeah, he's a Tim Walz staffer, lifetime Democrat. Fortunately, most people do not read beyond the headlines. Now, going to the comments, one of the first ones comes to us thanks to, I'm a little biased, not the most light comment, but the most handsome one. Me, the Topping Show. Obviously, I'm joking. He says, WTF, her statement is more moronic than her outfit, getting 3 likes. Paul Zupa says, quote, Crockett just said this months after she violently attacked a reporter. Remember that? Getting 167 likes. Libercat Media Tim says, quote, if that was the truth, then why is our side dropping like flies, getting 81 likes? Yep. Let's see. We also have Trump Tracker. Says, I agree 100%. He got 1 like. Was he ratioed? Yes. By who? Ben Dover Jewel. Says, I agree with Hi Ash. There are 0 violent leftists. And it's a bizarre looking guy getting 11 likes. Apple Lamps has a gif of the retard meme, but it has long eyelashes. And it's trying to fit a cube into a circular hole, getting 208 likes. FAFO says, quote, quick history, who did what? Killed Lincoln, a Democrat. Killed JFK, a Democrat. Killed MLK, a Democrat. Created the KKK, Democrats. Lynched blacks, Democrats. Segregation, Democrats. Created Jim Crow, Democrats. Internment camps, Democrats. Confederacy, Democrats. Called racist, Republicans. Got 307 likes. The Austin Conservative says, quote, when they asked me what radical guys do, I showed them this. You have Daniel Penny, who again was a famous former Marine who actually saved lives on a subway when it was Jordan Neely, the literally career criminal known for beating up grandma, assaulting her in the back of the head multiple times. Wasn't his grandma, but someone's grandma. And they arrested him and tried to sue. They tried to sue him, I believe, civilly as well as criminally. And then you have a Ukrainian refugee that was killed brutally. Named Charlie Kirk. They got 310 likes. The Immortal says only people with mental illness are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, getting 95 likes. Let's make it 96 likes, shall we? Deplorable Millennial says, quote, or it's an old cartoon. And it says, every time Democrats don't get their way, they get dangerous. It's a cartoon of John Wilkes Booth about to assassinate President Lincoln, getting 19 likes. Let's see. Bend Over has a picture of Jasmine Crockett, says, quote, I won't stop blaming white people no matter how hard you try to make me. The guy, Chad guy, has a camera, says, no, please keep talking, getting 79 likes. Uncle Rob says, totally, is a picture compilation of the latest folks who FAFO with the police, getting 13 likes. Let's see. Trying to see if there's any contrarian statements. Anyone sticking up for Jasmine Crockett? Ultra Maca Greek says every Democrat accusation is actually a confession, getting 28 likes. Tom says Jasmine Crockett is always wrong, but never lacking in self-confidence. There's a cartoon of her and it says, I'm ignorant and wrong. I'm going to be loud about it too, getting 73 likes, which, yeah. Going down more and more. Is there any contrarian statements? I don't know, bringing to the surface. It blows my mind though, because again, the more stuff like this she says, the more campaign funds she raises, the more followers she gets, the more Democrats like her. All right, one more. Nick's Dank Memes has picture Jasmine Crockett with a Starbucks or some type of beverage, and it's being magnified and photoshopped the label of the beverage to say retard juice extra retarded. Gained 34 likes, which is quite dangerous because, as a philosopher once said in Tropic Thunder, Robert Downey Jr., I'm just a dude playing a dude dressed up as another dude. Never go full retard. Which might be the worst impression you heard all year, but nevertheless, the attempt was made, and perhaps that's an accolade in and of itself. But yep, Jasmine Crockett continues to go viral. Will she ever learn or say anything intelligent? I mean, only time shall tell, but I would say the odds are not good. But let me know your thoughts and comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Representative Illan Omar being happy that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Because of course she is. Now this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness. And he says, quote, Representative Illan Omar is happy Charlie Kirk was killed. All because he downplayed political beliefs that she had. Because he didn't agree with her. I'm sorry, I should have put a visual disclaimer on the screen. Because obviously, Representative Illan Omar is debatably as ugly as on the outside as she is on the inside. And debatably more visually disgusting than myself. Which, saying something. Now let's hear what she has to say.
What I do know for sure is that, Charlie was someone who once said, guns save lives after a school shooting.
I mean, it's an inanimate object, so yeah, good guys use them and bad guys use them. And before the CDC got even more political and stopped reporting the data, it was estimated between 3 and 5 million times per year in the United States, firearms are used to deter and stop bad guys. But nevertheless, let's see what else she has to say.
Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police.
I think he called him a scumbag.
Right, have no regard.
Scumbag, well, let's see. A lifetime drug user who abused women, robbed a pregnant woman at gunpoint, robbed multiple people, assaulted people. How would that not be a scumbag? I mean, robbing a pregnant woman at gunpoint is not exactly an exemplar of a good person. I'm almost fascinated. We're only 28 seconds into this clip, and believe it or not, it'll get even dumber.
Downplay slavery and what Black people have gone through in this country by saying Juneteenth should never exist.
The 4th of July unites all of us.
And I think, there are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
Complete rewriting of history.
Have they ever actually watched Charlie Kirk? ever watch any of his interviews or his debates where he literally says, anyone who would like to disagree with me, anyone who would like to chat, come on up. I got a chair for you. You can use the microphone. He gives them uninterrupted time to pontificate their ideals for him to debate them.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up, than to completely pretend that his words and actions have not been recorded and in existence for the last decade or so. And
I mean, is anyone surprised? No. You get 2.4 million views and 27,000 likes.
What I do know,
Elon, and it was a tech joke. It goes, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's a bug. I don't know why the video always replays the second you stop and scroll over it. It's annoying as hell. But nevertheless, got 2.4 million views and 27,000 likes. And I mean, it's almost impressive. They couldn't be more wrong or further from the truth. But again, they seem to outdo themselves time and time again. Representative Illan Omar has almost a unique skill set for that, or he has an adapt ability to do so. Which, again, they are ecstatic that he has been assassinated. He was taken from us, but we're told they're the party of compassion. They're the party of tolerance. Can't help us only see people being hurt and assassinated and killed one side of the political aisle. And when bad things happen on one side of the political aisle, they riot and destroy cities, while the other side prays and helps each other. Now, one of the first comments comes to us thanks to Amelia Henderson. Now, she says, quote, she wasn't even elected by Americans. Ilhan Omar wasn't elected by Americans. She was elected by 80,000 Somalians that Obama dropped in Minnesota. I'm sorry, Minnesota, as I purposely mispronounced, as a slight to that rudimentary conquered state. They got 1.8 thousand likes. And again, they imported so many Somalians, they changed the state flag to one that looks even worse than the flag of Somalia, which is saying something. It's something a kid can make with crayon. It's that bad and pathetic. Now, David Santa Clara says, quote, this is what they're saying on air. It's much worse than many think. Getting 750 likes. One bad dude says she needs to be deported immediately, getting 718 likes. Amelia Henderson says she can go back to Somalia. They show her standing on the American flag, and she says, I pledge allegiance to the Somalian flag. Got 605 likes. Paul Zazupa says, quote, Ilhan Omar should have been deported many years ago, but Republicans in Congress and the DOJ continue to be too weak, getting 535 likes. The Got Media TM says, quote, he downplayed George Floyd. He opposed Juneteenth. Quick, execute him, Ilhan Omar. Getting 141 likes. Jay says the Dems can go to hell, getting 11 likes. The conservative alternative says, quote, America has been invaded by people who hate this country and now are trying to burn it down. Our tolerance is their weapon. And says, I forget what apparel they wear in Islam. I forget the specifics of the vernacular of what the cloak is called. And it says, your tolerance is my weapon. Getting 124 likes. There we go. We got a contrarian statement brewing to the surface, partially because try to follow as many people as possible so they don't get stuck in a boring echo chamber. This is credited to Trump Tracker. He says, quote, they want her to mourn his death when he celebrates George Floyd being killed. You guys are effing hypocrites, getting 211 likes. What do you see ratio, though? Oh, close. Make America Great Again. Fan says George Floyd OD'd on fentanyl, retard, getting 146 likes. Which again, Charlie Kirk wasn't gleefully happy when George Floyd died. He simply didn't mourn him. And again, a lot of Democrats prayed and worshiped George Floyd when he passed away, but didn't when the Ukrainian refugee passed. They actually said, prayers are, you can't do that. Same thing with a trans shooter in Minneapolis, or sorry, was it Minnesota? It's been a week. You also have I drew retards. And this person say I draw all kind of retards: white, black, gay, blue haired. And got 1,000. And say they just sketched her and got 1.6 thousand likes. Jared Marsh has a picture of George Floyd. Says, quote, convicted felon drug addict, media treats him as a saint. And Charlie Kirk says, talks to college kids, his death is mounted by media outlets, getting 2,000 likes. Yep. And let's see if there's any contrarian people here. Let's see. Athena says, here's your precious Muslim congressman at a Al-Qaeda training camp in Somalia. She's trying to get this picture blocked. Got 396 likes. The old picture, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like her, but I have no idea if it is or not. Let's see. Carter family says, I think she should be deported, getting 1.2 thousand likes. Let's see. Runner Tushar says Charlie Kirk would have been president one day, but the Democrats assassinated him, getting 59 likes, which, yeah, he had the charisma, he had the business know-how and actually build Turning Point USA. He had a lot of things going for him. He had a lot of obviously one of the most famous, influential men in media, and also political media specifically. Yeah, I think he could have been a contender. Darkside says all these people are mentally ill, getting 319 likes. Logan Hall says, what are either of these people still doing in our country, getting 522 likes. So a couple, I was going to say one contrarian comment, but yeah, I'm not all too surprised. But again, I'm sure all her constituents love and vote for her, and she'll be reelected when that time comes. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Parris Hilton mini fridges being recalled. Now, this is brought to us thanks to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, perhaps the only useful government website, granted pretty low bar. And they say, quote, Apoca International recalls Parris Hilton mini fridges due to fire burns and burn hazards. Whoops. There you can see at least it looks fancy, mini fridge there. Multiple colors for you to burn and die in. But in all seriousness, they say, quote, the recalled mini fridge's switch can short circuit, causing it to overheat, posing a fire and burn hazard, affecting 110,000 units, which is quite a few to say the least. Say the recall involves a Parris Hilton mini beauty fridge sold in the 4-liter model pink, white, aqua, and hot pink, and the 10-liter model in pink and white. Label with the model number and serial number is located on the back of the unit, for the 4-liter model and the bottom of the 10-liter model. Parris Hilton branding is on the door in the rightmost corner for most of them. Let's see here. Actually, consumers should immediately stop using the recalled Parris Hilton mini beauty fridges, unplug the unit, register the recall at www.apoca.com/miniFridgeRecall. To receive a full refund, customers will have to fill out an online form and submit 3 photos. One should be at the refrigerator's door with the word recall written on it using permanent marker. The second should be the label of the unit showing the model number and serial number. And the last photograph should be of the cut unplugged cord. Consumers should then discard the recalled fridge according to local and state regulations. And in terms of getting ahead of the recall, well, not so much. They've received 27 reports of the mini fridges overheating and catching fire, but silver lining, no reports of injuries or deaths have been reported thus far. Property damage has been included, but looks like no one lost a house or wasn't too significant. Is apparently sold at Walmart, Ross, and online at walmart.com and amazon.com through November 2022 through July 2025. Sold for $30 and $60, manufactured in China, imported by Apoca USA of Baton Rouge, Florida. And I didn't even know beauty mini fridges was a thing. Obviously, I don't use any makeup or anything. But yeah, obviously, companies go Apoca. That's actually company that manufactured it. But I want to say part of the business blunder is also on Parris Hilton because, again, all of these things are just licensing deals. She just paid a lot of money just so they could slap her logo on it. Very, very, very rarely, except when you have companies like maybe Disney level, where they are very, very, very particular when it comes to licensing and merchandising, sales, and operations. It's one of those things where most people actually don't check out the product, make sure it's safe. So in this case, I gotta say, not only is the business blunder on Apoca, but I have to say the business blunder is also on Parris Hilton. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone, everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.